is the 2025 US Open, and you have tuned into the DGen Nation station here on Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast, brought to you by Play ProphetX. Use code FG Degenerates for 1.5% back on your plays over there. As always, I'm brought to you by the king of the couch, Kenny Kim. What's going on, Kenny?
What's up, guys? Big week for us, big event. I was in Canada, I didn't go to the Canadian Open, but we did have some winners this week. It was a great week.
It was a fantastic week. I hit Cristobal Dalso Law first round leader for a 100-unit play. It was chopped, so at only 60 units, Kenny. And then on Saturday, little sneaky Matteo Manacero, third round leader. Popped that in the Discord, in the Model Maniac Patreon. It was delightful. So I went into the week about down 50 units, Kenny. I'm in the fucking green, baby. So we are looking good. It's not how you drive, it's how you arrive. And we are making money again in 2025. Tell me about your weekend, Kim.
Yeah, it worked out pretty well for me. I had Byrons and Fox on the card. Hopefully you guys tailed last week, so it was a sweat-free playoff. Hit the Fox 60-1.
Yeah, two of those now this year.
What's up? Yeah,
two sweat-free playoffs.
Yeah, I had the other one was the Nick
Sony.
Taylor Echeverria was a sweat-free playoff as well. This is the third outright of the year, also 13th and 14th, I think, or maybe 14th and 15th. Each way hits a little bit less on the each way than last year, about halfway through the season, because I'm counting the fall also. So we're about halfway through the season. I'm at 3 outrights, 15 each ways. Last year, I had 7 outrights and 45 each ways. It's going to be tough to get to the 45 mark for the each ways, but that's 7 outrights, still doable. Still doable, especially with the fall coming up. So trying to get back on track with that. It was a nice little hit, paid for my airfare, paid for my hotel in Canada when I was there this past week. One thing I will let you guys know, I will tell a couple of stories from the Toronto trip this week. But next week is going to be our 420th episode. Okay. So next week, we will be celebrating 420 with our normal show for the Heritage. But then after the show, we will be doing another little sub show on everything that went on in Toronto. It'll give me for the live Cuss Corner. It was a lot of fun, lots of great stories, meeting a lot of great people. I'll go over that next week. Give me a week to write everything down, because I was writing everything down and looking over it. I was like, this is going to be an hour. And I figured probably don't want to do an hour extra on the US Open show, which is already going to be probably close to 2 hours anyways. You're basically going to be there for a full football game. And I don't know if people want to do that. So we're going to save it for next week. But for this week, for this past week, let's move on. First off, the show is definitely brought to you by ProphetX. Use promo code FG Degenerates. Get yourself money back on every winning transaction that you get. You get 1.5% back on every win, because I think they take a certain amount of rake. And so they chop that rake in half for you for the first, 20 wins? 30 wins? First 30 days.
30 days of plays.
30 days of play. So make sure you go to ProphetX. We'll talk about that. It's a major week. They do a lot more stuff when it comes to the majors. Also, since I'm wearing it, we'll just go ahead and mention Kickback Golf this week. I am wearing the Kickback Golf t-shirt. This is their Masters t-shirt. On the back is a picture of Hideki's caddy bowing at Augusta. Pretty cool shirt. So make sure you go to kickbackgolf.com. Use promo code FGD15. Get some cool merch from them. But let's go ahead and talk about this past week's tournament before we move on to these Toronto stories. Go ahead there, Byron.
Yeah, I also had Kevin Yu in an each way there. Kenny, one shot out of the playoff for my outright. So as always, my guy's just feeling a little closer than I wanted him to, but it is what it is. We're going to celebrate your W's, and we had a great week. So Foxy and Burns, Kenny, is doing this thing again now. I think the last one he had was at the Charles Schwab, where he went off at like 10 o'clock in the morning and got into a playoff with Scotty Scheffler after the weather turned. This time, Sam just burned up the course with 8 under par score. I think he birdied 5 holes in a row on the back 9 or something ridiculous. So incredible stuff. Shane Lowry got off to a -5 start through the first 4 holes and then finished -3 for the round, like in typical Shane Lowry fashion. Just totally realized, oh, I'm now in the lead and I'm going to just shut down my legs. So congratulations to Shane on once again proving me right in that department.
Yeah,
But
well,
Kenny,
one
yeah.
thing, I had Shane in one and done, and so that one hurt. I had
Oh,
Shane in the Mayo Cup, and I only dropped from 125 to 144 with this 13th place finish. But yeah, that would have been nice to get a little bit more out of that.
Yeah. Did you watch the playoff at all, Kenny?
So when I got home, I got back for the back 9 for the leaders. Got to the playoff, passed out by the second playoff hole. Woke up at 7 o'clock this morning.
The only time you guys could have saw me on TV and you didn't.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I was sitting
Yeah, I was
sitting at the top of the bunker right behind the 18th green. We had the media passes, so my feet were literally dangling off the edge of the bunker, and it was a great time. I could have sat there all day, and the scenes were just electric, dude. It was amazing.
The 18 there is cool too with the par 5. So it gives everyone a little bit of hope going in to that final hole. But everybody was laying up. Is what it looks like with that water there, with the water there on the left. Not too many, guys going out there for the gusto. But yeah, I mean, like, honestly, I didn't see much of the tournament. For the most part, I mean, Saturday I was at the recording. Friday we played golf over at Oakdale at Jeff's Country Club. It was crazy playing the same course that Nick Taylor, the logo, the Canadian logo. We played that hole. I parred that hole, that par 5.
Just like Tommy Fleetwood. Congrats.
Yeah, well, when I hit the drive on that hole, Jeff said that if Tommy hit that drive, he would have won the event. I piped it. I piped it about 270 right down the middle, 260 right down the middle. But yeah, the guy who's a baller, Pat. I know Pat could play, but going out there, he's hitting about 270, 280. He's got that safe cut. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a cut that if you line it on the left side of the fairway, it's going to land in the middle. If you hit it towards the middle of the fairway, it's going to land on the right side of the fairway. It's one of those things where it's very, very safe. He doesn't shoot it out, like a Wyndham Clark does very often. It's just that nice little cut and very, very safe. And he still gets a lot of distance off of it. So Pat's a pretty good player. He shot 83 over at Oakdale. I think Jeff shot 93 this club. I shot 97. And then Tim shot 99. I got to ride with Tim. I had to get the feel of him driving the cart because I don't really drive carts very often. I have some issues with my vision sometimes. And so I definitely held on for dear life in the beginning, but we got used to it and we're good to go. It was a fun little thing. So I didn't get to watch much of the golf. And then Sunday I came home, of course, watched the back 9 and the past 9.
Cool. Matteo Manacero showing up out of nowhere, gained 10 strokes on the approach for the week. That's a really impressive round there. Lost with the putter, so that's something to kind of keep an eye on. The guy's really starting to vibe. Ludwig with a bit of a backdoor situation again. He seems to just not being able to string rounds together. He's got 3 solid rounds in a tournament, and then
he's
getting
there's
close.
A
4th round in there that kind of just goes awry. And he's, chipping around the greens again, a major issue, which we can discuss for this week. But I'm down to just chat about Oakmont Country Club, Kenny, and not necessarily even recap that much of the RBC Canadian Open, since neither of us really watched that much. I was busy hacking it around Tournament Club of Iowa, which we may or may not play when you guys show up here later in September, as we might have just booked these dates for ourselves to organize. So we might do a live show from my house in Iowa.
Yeah, looks like we'll be doing a live show from Iowa for the Ryder Cup. So that should be fun. Looking forward to that. I just want to go play golf for 4 days straight. That's basically all my friends are, married with kids, and they're older, and their wives are Northern Virginia, DC wives, and they won't let them do it. So I got about 10 years till me and my boys can go play on these trips. I've been trying to get together with these guys. I got 4 guys that I play with all the time, and I've been trying to get together with these 4 for a golf trip for 2 years, and I can't find a date. Can't find nothing. One of the guys is super cheap. You know what I'm saying? Even though he makes more money than I do, his ass won't fucking spend up. I'm like, dude, it's just one weekend. Let's spend it. He's like, I'm the cheapest guy I know. I love him. But the motherfucker's cheap and it sucks.
You know who you are.
So if you went, yeah. So
he probably doesn't even watch the show because he doesn't.
no.
subscribe
He
to YouTube.
actually listens to it. Like he falls asleep to it, which is I don't understand. He said he'll wake up in the middle of the night with me just yelling at him at the top of my lungs. He has no idea like what's going on. So that's how he gets support. Hey, it counts as a click.
Kenny whispers sweet nothing in his ears at night.
It counts
That is
as
an
a click.
absurd show.
So I
fall asleep
appreciate
to
that.
this show. Jesus,
I think he's probably listening to some other podcasts and then on his list, and then this one is on his list, so this comes on. That's the way he goes about it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this trip. It should be fun. Next week should be a lot of fun. It is the 420 show. Byron does have to get stoned for the show. I will be eating an edible at the beginning of the show. So the Toronto part of the show will probably be in my peak highness. So that should be a lot of fun. Talk.
Your Highness.
Yeah. But let's go ahead. I do have to talk about a couple of stories from Toronto. Just on the top of my head. The first one, the main reason I went to Toronto, if you guys don't know, Mayo Media Network did a show, a live Cuss Corner in Toronto from the Rec Room. I wasn't a part of the show. I was never going to be a part of the show, but the reason why I wanted to go was I wanted to meet Cam. And I wanted to hang out with the boys. I've hung out with Pat and Jeff a couple of times now, and Tim, and I consider them like friends, like real friends now. So I definitely wanted to go see them, but I really wanted to meet Cam. And the first thing that I'll say about Cam Stewart is, okay, so you know how a lot of the times when people do shows, they sort of not lie, like sort of go overboard on their persona, right? I mean, everyone knows what my persona is. I'm the crazy guy. I'm the funny guy who does wild shit. Occasionally, I might puff it up a little bit because, in all honesty, that's how I used to be when the show started, right? And so as I've gotten older, it's been 10 years, and as I've gotten older, I've tamed, right? But I mean, people still love the crazy Kenny, so I still gotta, bring that on sometimes, right? And lay it on thick. On the show. Think about Cam. When you see Cam on camera, on a show, that is the mild version of Cam. When you meet Cam in real life, like not on the shows, he is wilder than he is on the shows.
Like, I find it hard to believe, which is insane.
He is tamed down. When you see him on with Gabe, when you see him on with Pat, when you see him doing his own shows on, I forget, Sports Grid or whatever network he works for in Canada, he is actually holding back. Because, okay, so the first time I met him was a Mayo Media dinner, right? It was a Mayo Media dinner, Friday night, really nice steakhouse. Had a great time. Drinks were flowing. I think I fucked it up for Pat, and I rose the price of the dinner because everyone was drinking the free wine, all the bottles of wine, and like no one was ordering drinks. I was like, fuck that, I'm ordering a goddamn drink. And so I ordered a double Crown Royal, and then everyone started ordering the booze right after I ordered the double. But sorry, Pat, I apologize about that. It probably cost you another $1,000.
Were you the one that ordered the surf and turf? Someone ordered the I thought it was. We saw it come around the corner. We're like, yeah, that's Kenny's big meal. Yeah,
that's me. Yeah. I'm ordering a surf and turf. Hell yeah. I had the steak and lobster. I only ate half the steak too. So sorry, Pat. But I apologize about that. But what I noticed by Cam, like when I got there, he was already lit. He was lit. He was drunk. He was hammered. And what you notice when I sat next to him at dinner, and what you notice about him is, there was about 40 people in the dinner. And what you noticed is, you know, the whole dinner revolved around Cam. He is literally the center of life when you are hanging out with him. That's just the way it is. And the one thing that I was amazed at, it was, you know, there was a lot of booze on the table, lots of, you know, wine glasses with stems, bottles, different other types of drinks, sodas, everything that very easy to spill. Okay. And Cam at this point is standing up and they're telling some crazy, him and Rob's a really cool guy, Pizzola. They were telling some insane stories. Like their office that they used to work at might have been the craziest office in the world. They talked about this random autistic guy who didn't even like work at the office, but he would just show up randomly in a Beefeater soldier costume, march into the office, and just plant himself there and start doing work. But he never worked for the company. Like, and then like he would get like drunk like at the office and pass out in like the meeting room couch in his underwear. Just some guy like who would just walk into their office. They barely knew him, but this is what happens at their office. Anyway, so Cam's telling all these wild stories. And Cam's very, handsy when he's talking. Like his hands are moving like fucking, like he's doing like kung fu and doing the shit on the wooden box. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, that punching shit. Like it's some wild ass shit. Like I had to like duck and like do the Matrix type shit sitting next to him sometimes when he was speaking. But the thing that like amazed me the most is like he'd be doing these hand motions and be like just barely missing knocking over a wine bottle, just millimeters of missing knocking over wine glass and spraying it all over the fucking table. Like, and I thought it was just luck at the beginning. Like he's definitely gonna knock something over, right? He's definitely gonna knock something over. But in the whole time that he was there, he was literally, he knew that he was missing these things on purpose. Like he has this skill, even though he's probably blindly drunk, that he had this skill. Didn't knock over anything. It was incredible. Like it was like like a ballerina. Like it was just artistic. Like the way that he moved, it looked so barbaric. But like everything was like pointed and like thought about, and maybe not thought about, but he just never fucked anything up. It was incredible. It was incredible. And the next thing is his girlfriend. I might like his girlfriend more than Cam. She was such a cool chick.
It's so cool.
Just because having to deal with Cam, because Cam, there's no like switch for him. It's like, this is the way he is 24/7, all the fucking time. And to have the patience to be with Cam for 11 years, live together, be with Cam for 11 years and deal with him, because you're never going to get a word in edgewise. I couldn't. And this is me. And I love talking. And I was hammered.
Love interrupting.
I was all the time. All the time. Yeah. You should be like Cam, Byron, because he would not let me interrupt. He would not let me interrupt. But it was great hanging out with him. His girlfriend was really cool. We partied hard for 2 nights straight. I maybe got 4 hours of sleep after the first night. But yeah, that's the Cam story. There'll be more Cam stories next week. I also hit up a Michelin star restaurant in Toronto called Don Alfonso 1890, one of the best restaurants I've ever been to. We'll talk about that next week, because that'll be 20 minutes right there, because that was just spectacular. And I also have quips about everyone from Mike to Pat to Jeff to Tim to Pizzola, Garion. I'll have little nubs and stories about all those guys, but we're going to end this on probably the craziest thing that happened in Toronto. So Friday night, we're all drunk. We were hammered. We're wasted. After we are at Barty's Steakhouse, we go across the street to Jack Astor's, because the Edmonton game went into overtime, the Stanley Cup final. So we had a bunch of shots there, and Pat got me on this shot. Thank you, Pat, because this is fucking delicious. I probably had about 20 of these during the trip, and I've never had it before. It's like 2/3 Jameson, 1/3 Frangelico. Frangelico is a hazelnut liqueur. So it's Jameson, and it's so smooth, so delicious. It's like my favorite thing now. I'll be ordering that everywhere. So I was lit. I had a bunch of those. Had maybe, I think, sorry, Pat, I had like 6 Double Crown Royal on the rock at the dinner. And we went to the bar, Jack Astor's. I had a couple of shots of the, it's called a James Franco. That's the name of the drink. That I had a couple of those. And so we go back to Paul Shagg's room. And then Cody is there also. They used to host the Dogger Pass show on the Mayo Media. They started their own podcast here recently. I think it's Bet the Bookie or
Bookie Beatdown.
Take down
Bookie Beatdown.
Bookie Beatdown
Yeah.
is what it's called. So make sure you go check that out. I'm sure it's on all the streaming platforms, all the podcast platforms. So it's like me, Pat, Jeff, Paul, and Cody, and we're still drinking. We're partying. We're having a great time. It's like 2 a.m. I'm wasted. So I leave. We all head back. It's like 2 a.m. We head back. I'm drunk. I mean, like, it's shit spinning, stuff like that. And then like 30 minutes after I get back to my room, I'm hearing all these crazy sirens, like, and lights. I was on the top floor. So I just saw like glimpses of these lights, and like I heard all these crazy sirens. I'm like, what's going on? So the next day, we come to find out, Cody was there with his wife. His wife was 9 months pregnant. And so we hear the next morning that she literally gave birth in the hotel room at 2:30 in the morning.
Cody delivered the baby.
Cody delivered the baby, and we were at least like, I would say we're about 20 drinks deep for the night. All of us. We were about 20 drinks deep for the night. Whatever extracurricular activities added on top of that, right? And so I can't imagine being him, because we didn't see him again for the rest of the week. They were in the hospital, stuff like that. But like, he actually delivered the baby, lit out of his mind, in the hotel room, because it was not stopping. Well, it was not stopping. Like, they called the ambulance, and the shit was like halfway out. They were like, "Poof, hello, I'm here." So the ambulance didn't come until after the baby was born. Baby was born in the hotel room. First baby born in that hotel room, in that hotel ever, by the management and stuff like that. Baby and the wife all healthy. Everything worked out great. But I can't imagine being just where you're just blinded drunk, and you have to pull a baby out of your wife's vagina. It's gotta be.
By the sounds of it, the baby was just catching.
Stories. Maybe it's like, just spit it out, girl. Spit it out.
Just behind the plate there, just trying to catch a fastball.
Just grab that bitch, like one of those. Yeah. So that was definitely the craziest story.
We thought something was off, because my wife noticed that she had gone to the bathroom for probably 2 hours out of the whole night. Like, she was in the washroom the whole time. And so like Jamie was trying to like check in, see, like, open up the door and say like, hey, like, what's going on? But no, nothing. And so she must have gone into labor at the steakhouse, which is nuts.
She was probably having contractions.
Yeah. Just
Caitlin
bonkers.
was like grabbing me violently while she's going through contractions.
Well, this was her third kid.
I can't imagine.
Okay.
So they're probably like
checks
used.
out.
It's like old hat, and it's probably like, the runway's
the alleyway
very
is slightly
clear
bigger
at that point in time. You know what I'm saying? The
Yeah.
runway's clear. It's not like it's the first time where by that point in time, it's a wide open tee box. Open tee box.
Yes.
At that point in time, would be my guess. So yeah, but it was funny because I just met Cody for the first time that night. I'd never met. I've hung out parties with Paul before, but that was the first night hanging with Paul. And we were at the fucked up stage where we were having like deep deep conversations about like life and like random political topics. You know, when you catch that perfect type of buzz, right? And you get into that, you know, that talking type of, you know, buzz. And we were at that point talking about like crazy shit, right? And so we were both fucking gone, and I know he was too. And I can't imagine if I just saw like a head sticking out of the baby. I'm like, girl, you're gonna have to do this yourself, and I'd have to balance.
Also, a head sticking out of a baby, Kenny, will sober you up pretty quickly.
Yeah,
Trust me.
head sticking out of the
It is something that you can't comprehend. It makes no sense. But
no, well, I mean,
it happens.
What was the scene where there was some show recently where they showed the whole
Super
birth?
Bad?
No. I think it was The Pit. I think it might have been The Pit. That just came out, and they literally showed like the real thing happen, like it on film, and it was wild. It was wild. That's
It's
the first
incredible,
time I've
man.
seen.
It's absurd to think that, and then it goes back to being normal afterwards.
Yeah,
which is like that's the crazy part.
I posted on X, like I'm not a father. I've never seen it, and for the people that have watched The Pit, and I was like, is this really what it looks like? And they were like, almost to a T, and I was like, I will not be, if that ever happens in my life, I'll be like, I liked it better in the 50s where you could just be, you know, in the waiting rooms, you know, drinking a whiskey and smoking your cigarettes while you're waiting. That's what I'd like to be. I'll probably be outside hitting a flash, smoking my cigarette is probably what will happen if that ever happens to me.
That is just so absurd. That is so bananas. But luckily it was his third, you know, because the first time round, it is just like,
oh, I can't imagine
so much
if
random
it was the
shit
first
happens.
Kid.
Yeah.
If it was the first kid, I would have, I don't know what he would have done.
That would have been
crazy.
Crazy. But also, I don't think she would have been in that position if it was her first kid. She would have realized what the fuck's up, hopefully.
Yeah.
Either way, we are biologically diagnosing this woman right now. But speaking of, shout out to the many women out there. We watched the Fantasy Golf Degenerates that Kenny profusely apologized to you guys while seeing you at Cuss Corner Live.
Yeah, so it was funny. At the Cuss Corner Live, there were a good amount of women there, and I thought they were mostly with, you know, their significant others, but no, they were like fans of the show. And so we did a meet and greet afterwards, and I, you know, said hello. Again, I will tell this story better next week, but like I had maybe 2 hours of sleep that night, and so I had to like fake it till I made it because I felt like I had to like at least be presentable, right? If I'm going to meet these fans, but I was fucking by that point in time, I had to get the hair of the dog, and I had 5 more cocktails by that time, and I sort of fucked the show up because I bought Cam like 5 cocktails before the show started too, and he was a fucking lunatic during the show.
I thought the bouncers were gonna take him off the stage, dude. I was looking at the bouncer, and he was like, "Oh my god, like this guy is fucking cut him off right now." Yeah.
Oh my god.
We didn't cut him off. We kept feeding him the booze.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
People were buying us drinks, but
you'll see that. I've got
it.
it all recorded, so it'll go up onto the Mayo Media Network. So yeah.
Okay. All right. So it's good that I won't tell these stories till next week, so we can get the show out first, so you can see what happens, and then I will go and I will do the whole entire story from day one until we left next week after our show. It'll be our own little segment. We'll go over that, and I'll have little blurbs about everybody. All right.
Fantastic. I'm so happy for you, Kenny. I'm happy you had a good time. By the way, did you buy that guy wearing the Christian Hackenberg Jets jersey a drink?
I did not, but okay. So there's this guy. I think his name is Doug. He's been commenting on our YouTube page that he was going to be at the show, and I told him, you know, I go meet up with him. He's in a wheelchair. He had some health issues, so he's in a wheelchair now. And so I went up to him, talked to him and his wife. Really nice. Really nice guy. Really loves the shows, watches our show, watches the PME. Really great things to say. And you know, he was talking about how he loves to smoke weed and stuff like that. And so I had my little pen, which I find out that was illegal in Canada. I brought it up because you guys Canadians don't have any low potency shit. Fuck that. I need the potent shit. And so I had my weed pen, very, very high potency. It's like 80% THC. And I told them to hit it, you know, because they're not going to kick out a guy in a wheelchair. Like, they're just going to run him out. They're just not going to do that. right? And so I was like, okay, I'm not going to hit this here because I'll get in trouble. But you're in a wheelchair, right? They're not going to talk shit to you. So he went ahead, and I didn't really warn him about the strength, right? And he takes this hit that will kill an elephant, right? I mean, like, I was like, dude, and I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to, like, I didn't know if he was like a professional, right? Like me. I like maybe he's a pro. But then I sort of remembered, okay, Canada doesn't have this high potency shit. Anyways, so he hits this shit and he hits it hard. And he blows out like a cumulus cloud full of smoke. It's like the biggest smoke cloud I've ever seen, like, in my life. And then I was like, oh, okay. He's gonna be very, very, very. And I was like, it's nice to meet you, and I walked away. And so Doug, I know I know you're gonna watch this show. I need you to comment how high you were after that hit, because I think I might have did you dirty on that. So if I did, I apologize to you. But we'll have more stories about this next week. Let's get to the U.S. Open. It's our U.S. Open show. It's a big show. We don't need to go on more about this and make this longer than 2 hours. So let's go ahead. Speaking of longer than 2 hours, Mike, one thing I didn't notice at the beginning of the show was the voice say, "You are now being recorded." Is this recorded? Because I feel like it's not.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
I recorded in 2 spots, so don't worry. We always got a backup.
Yeah.
All right, good.
It is also 9:45. We started the show at 9:00 Central Time here in Iowa in the morning. Kenny's face is darker than normal because I'm assuming the sun isn't in the right spot as usual.
Yeah.
It's such a Kenny's drinking coffee. I doubt he's gonna have an edible. I'm drinking liquid IV instead of shotgunning twisted tea. So it's a bit of a different vibe this morning. I woke up, didn't even do the hair. I woke up like a professional soccer player. So we're just rocking and rolling with it. And also, before we get going, I wanted to shout out the couple of you that messaged me about the show, because I had some really big shoes to fill in Tambo's shoes. And a couple of you put it like quite nicely, that saying, didn't expect you to match what Tambo did or anything like that, but what you're doing is perfect. So I really appreciate all of you guys that, like, it makes me feel good. Like, I'm a confident dude in general, but it's nice to know on a show like this that we're still providing what you guys are looking for, even though it's a different thing that you're usually used to.
I mean, I'll let you know, Byron. I mean, I was thinking last year was going to be my last year. The only reason I kept going is because I enjoy doing the show with you so much. So it's definitely been working on my end. So all that has definitely been true. You definitely stepped up and filled the shoes nicely. But let's go ahead and let's talk about this week, and then you can go ahead and do your thing. Hit another fucking first round leader, or hit some placements, or hit an outright. Let's go ahead and do it. Let's get to this week. Let's get to the course. The golfers, they head to Oakmont, Pennsylvania this week to play the U.S. Open from Oakmont Country Club. The USGA loves this place. It's the 10th time this place, the U.S. Open has been held there. The last time was 2016. And Dustin Johnson won at -4. The time before that, 2007, Angel Cabrera won at +5, I think was the number that he won at. One thing related about those two guys, both Masters winners. Both have won the Masters. And they both have won this course as well. Oakmont Country Club, 7,400 yard, par 70, 4 par 3s, 2 long par 5s. The par 5s are long, over 600 yards. It's going to be tough for many to reach them in 2. At first glance, you wouldn't think the course is too difficult because there's no water, hardly any trees, and the greens are pretty large, right? That's definitely not the case. Like I said, when he scored 2007, +5, and then Phil Mickelson, last time they played in 2016, stated that this course is one of the most difficult courses in the world. Now, you may be asking, how is this possible without the usual hazards you see week in and week out on tour? Well, let's start off the tee. Golfers are going to be hitting into narrow fairways that slope heavily one way or another, leaving uneven lies on approach shots. If the course is dry, which doesn't look like it will be. But if they can get it a little bit drier, the fairways are going to be firm and quick, which will make holding tee shots on the fairway very difficult unless the golfer hits it in the exact right spot. Now, there has been a lot of rain. There's been, I think, 2 inches this week alone. Is what they call in the forecast, but it looks like there isn't any rain on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. So we're hoping that the course can dry up a little bit. It looks like there is some storms on Saturday that could lead into a little bit more rain on Sunday. The wind doesn't look that bad. So based on that, I'm thinking we see something similar into the vein of what we saw in 2016. Like a -4, -5 type winner is what I think that we shall see. Maybe something in the cut range, probably around +4, +5, +6 is probably where we're going to see. Now, if golfers miss the fairway, they're going to have to deal with treacherous rough. Now, last time out, there was a first cut. The first cut was 2.5 inches and extended about 15 feet on both sides of the fairway. I am not sure if they have that this year. I think they normally will, but I am not sure if they're going to have the graduated rough. I expect so. I just haven't heard anything about it. Now, once you get past the graduated rough, once you hit it, if you hit it in there, it's still playable, right? 2.5 inches. So that sort of adds about 10 yards to each fairway where you're not going to be dead, right? Now, the second rough, the main cut of rough, it's going to be 5, maybe even 6 inches by the time Sunday rolls along. One of the PGA Tour live commentators last time said you could lose a small child in this rough.
Don't go, Cody, do not give birth in the rough.
Yeah, don't give birth in the rough because you will lose the child. Is basically what I'm saying. In 2007, Phil Mickelson actually hurt his wrist hitting it out of the rough, and after the round, called the rough dangerous. Like hitting in this second cut of rough is equivalent to a stroke penalty. That's basically what it's going to be. They're going to have to be, hack it out, wedge it out, and barely hit the ball 100 yards. There are also a lot of deep bunkers around the fairways. The most famous, of course, being the church pew bunkers on the 3rd and 4th fairways. The course superintendents actually cut the rough down a little bit around the bunkers. So instead of a ball being stuck in the rough off the missed tee shot, some will trickle into these deep fairway bunkers. Hitting into these fairway bunkers almost as penal as hitting it into the rough. There is no water on the course, but there are drainage ditches in play on a lot of holes. These ditches have high, thick fescue growing in and around them. We're looking at like 12 to 18 inch rough and fescue in these drainage areas. The members of Oakmont have stated they usually take a stroke penalty and drop out of these ditches. Since we're dealing with tour players, many might decide to hit out of them. This could be a mistake. I'm sure we'll see a few strokes lost by certain golfers who are trying to be brave and hit it out of these deep draining ditches. The crazy thing about Oakmont is that the tee shot, not the hardest part of the course. On approach shots, golfers are going to be seeing larger than average greens, but they could be rock hard depending on weather. They do have sub-air systems. I do expect, Thursday might be soft, but by Wednesday with the sun and the sub-air kicking for 2 days straight, Friday could be a tough day out on these greens. Wild undulation on these greens, lightning speeds. The greens use POA. Like strict POA is a little bit of bent, but it's not that much. The POA is going to be over the bent. It's going to be not your West Coast POA, but like a Northeast type POA, that you see of like the Travelers next week. Now, it's going to be 14 or more on the stimp. 14 is very, very, very fast. One quote that I hear about putting on these greens, they compared the putting down a flight of stairs with the hole in the middle stair. That is the comp that I'm getting for putting on these greens. The rough around the greens are once again very thick. There are roll off areas that are very, very steep in the front. That's where you'll see like the shaved edges right in the front with a lot of steep roll off areas. Another difficult part is that a lot of the greens don't slope from back to front like most courses on tour. For example, hole 1 slopes from front to back and is considered one of the toughest opening holes in golf. If golfers hit it in the rough on the tee shot, there's no way the ball is gonna stop on the green on the approach. Basically impossible. Now, if they land short of the green, the next shot will be virtually impossible because they're going to have to hit up to the elevated green, and then it's going to slope down. So expect a lot of shots going past the green on hole 1. The par 5s are hard. In most tournaments, golfers expect a good amount of scoring on the par 5s. Not the case at Oakmont. In 2007, I think both played over par. I think in 2016, they both played even to over par. It's just something you just don't really see. Again, the weather is definitely a factor. If it rains, this course can play easier. It's going to soften the fairways and greens, making them both more receptive to golf balls. And I think that's going to be the case when you get into it on Sunday. I think you could maybe see some guys move up the leaderboard a little bit easier than Thursday and Friday. So that's something to keep an eye on when you are live betting. Because a lot of the times, if the course is going to be so difficult and so treacherous that really the only people that have a chance on Sundays are the ones real close to the lead, top 5 or something like that. If you're within 3-4 strokes, or maybe even 5, going into Sunday this week, if the rain does and the thunderstorms do come on Saturday and it's soft, Sunday could be the prime scoring conditions of the week. So that's something to pay attention. Now, everyone remembers Johnny Miller's 63, right? In the final round at Oakmont in 1973. If he was announcing this week, he would not let you forget it. All right, that's what Johnny Miller does. Now, while it was a great feat, it wasn't that big of a aberration that week. Oakmont received multiple inches of rain leading up to the tournament that year, and the course played easy. Miller shot 63. There were 265s, 266s, a total of 29 rounds in the 60s that week. Okay, and that's with worse equipment, right? And stuff like that. Back in 73. So while Thursday and Friday could be difficult, and Saturday would be difficult because you're going to be having to play in rainy conditions, Sunday might be the day to score. So just keep your mind on that when you're looking at live betting for the U.S. Open. All right. So another thing, the cut is top 60 in ties. This means that golfers will be cut more than usual for a golf tournament. This definitely changes the way I approach DFS, cash. From a DFS standpoint, usually in cash games, you don't need the winner, right? I'm looking for a little bit of upside, but mostly 6 guys I'm gonna make the cut, and it's been working pretty well. I've been very hot in cash since the Masters. I think I've hit like 5 or 6 or 4 or 5 cash line winners. The cornerstones have been very, very strong. If you notice my cornerstones this week, slightly more risky, slightly more aggressive, slightly more looking for upside potential. And the reason with that is, you're not going to get 6-6 is going to be super hard. In U.S. Opens, you're looking at like very minuscule, like if it's 5%, that's pretty high for a U.S. Open, right? To get 6-6. 5-6 is basically probably a good goal to have. But if you're going to be 5-6, you need a little bit more upside. The DraftKings bonus points or placements are going to be humongous this week because you're not going to get that many birdies, right? It's going to be a lot of pars. You're not going to get the 3 streak birdies that you see week in and week out. It's going to be a lot harder to get those bonus points. So placement points become extremely, extremely important. Now, since the best odds of winning are usually from golfers that are expensive, having a couple of guys in that higher range, being a little bit more aggressive in that lineup construction strategy, because you do have a 5K range now. I'm not comfortable with any of the 5K guys in cash this week. So I didn't go Scott, right? I didn't go Rory. I didn't even go Bryson, right? Because I'm just not that comfortable. Like in the PGA Championship, there were some dudes, right? There were some dudes in that 5K range. It's a lot harder. US Open's a different animal, right? Like it's a completely different animal. Especially the way that the course is set up now for this week and the way it's looking. So for cash, I can't go down to the 5K range. And I can't really go and I didn't really even dive deep into the 6K range. My final cash game for him, so I'm just, let's say now is English, and he's 6,700, right? And that's the lowest I'm going to go, and he should not be 6,700 first off. You're getting $1,000 in price savings basically from where he should be in price. And so I got 3 studs and him, 3 guys I think that can win, that are on my betting card, and English. And then it still leaves almost 15,000 to fill out the rest of your cash line. Now, when it comes to GPPs, doesn't really change much. Doesn't really change much. You've got to be aggressive. You got to always shoot for the winners. You got to have as many top 10s as possible. You got to have 6-6. It's not going to change it. But in cash, you'll see from the guys that I picked this week, a little bit more risky, but their upside potential is very, very high. So if one of them does crash and burn, hopefully the other guys pick them up with a high finish. So Byron, what are you looking for in golfers this week?
First off, Kenny, you say you're just the personality of the show. That is one of the best course breakdowns I think I've ever heard, especially for a course that's new. So well researched, my friend. It's such a nuanced, beautiful presentation of what Oakmont can be this week.
Another thing about you taking over the show, Byron, and this is no slight on you. When I was with Tambo, when I was with Brad, I mean, they picked up the slack. They were winning GPPs. They were doing their thing. Now you're the placement guy. You're the betting guy. So I've sort of had to work harder in the GPPs, and it's been good because it's made me play DFS better. Like being on a show with Tambo and Brad, I just didn't really give a fuck about GPPs because I knew that they were really, really good. People should just listen to them. Right? People should have just listened to them. I'll do my cash thing. It was fine. I'll do my cash. I'll be funny. It was great. Now with you have different marketable skills than what they have. You know what I'm saying? Like your placements, all the and that's a big part of the new gambling atmosphere. Always trying to find new ways and new ways to do things and move with the times, and that's a very, very important part. But DFS, you're not the big volume guy that those guys were, and so what I've had to do since you've taken over, and I've realized especially this year after doing the show for a year with you, is I sort of had to pick up my DFS. So I've put more into it a little bit, and what's helped me is tightening the contests that I play. Because when you play 50, 100, 150 lineups in the $5, like, yeah, I'll just play that guy. Yeah, just let me click that name, right? Just to get all the people that you want to fill out your lineups and stuff like that. Now I'm only doing 3 lineups a week. Higher buy-in, less people to compete against. I'm going to do 5 this week for majors. And it tightens everything, but it narrows your focus, right? It narrows your focus. And so I've been a lot better in GPPs. I didn't even mention last week that I was, in the top 10 of a GPP going into Sunday. I finished 26. So in the last 6 weeks, I've had a 3rd, an 8th, and a 26 in the $100 single entry. And I'm only making 3 lineups a week, right? I'm only making 3 lineups a week. And so those are pretty strong finishes. So I feel like the DFS game has gotten better. Cash has been actually really fucking good this season, especially after the first couple of months. It started off slow, which is normally the case in January and February because you don't have as much data. You don't have as much data, and you haven't seen these guys as much as you have by the middle or the end of the year. You know, that month or two break, a lot of the guys don't even play the fall events, right? Now that the fall is the way it is, it's a lot of scrubs, right? So you don't even see these guys play for 4 or 5 months. And for me, a lot of it visual, like watching guys play, catching them, because with featured groups and stuff like that, you get to watch a lot of different golfers. And on the big events, they also have the whole coverage. So you can watch every golfer if you really want, you know? And so for me, it's always been, as the year gets on, it gets better. And so that's been the case, and cash has been very, very strong since February. Been very, very good. And the GBPs have been getting up. So we're getting there. We're getting there. Yeah, let's go on and keep going talking about what you're looking for.
Yeah, that was a nice way to accept that compliment, Kenny, just to go on another 5-minute complete tangent there. And also great information in the tangent, but you know, what a wonderful course breakdown, my friend. I love you.
Oh, thank you. It's actually my course breakdown from 2016. And then I just added a couple of things. So it worked out.
It doesn't matter. It was still phenomenal. Old Kenny doing his work. Future Kenny, very proud of old Kenny. All right. So yeah, I'm sharing my screen with you guys. This is the Model Maniac Patreon. I've got a research channel over here that I post all my stuff. And I went and Google Earthed this golf course to death. And I put in the yardages, and I kind of looked and saw, okay, where are these guys going to be hitting from on approach? Because usually I just take 300 and I minus it from the total yardage. I actually went and saw, okay, you're probably going to want to hit 3-wood short on hole number 2, bloody block. So as you can see here in this top corner over here, we have got ourselves a proximity bucket of immense long irons. From 200 plus, we're going to see a third of shots on approach come from that range. 5 shots, which is 28% of shots coming from 175 to 200, and then 3 of them, which is 17% of the shots coming from 150 to 175. So only 22% of shots coming inside 150, aka a wedge range. So it's really, really going to be a long iron intensive venue. And as Kenny mentioned, if you're missing the fairways here, you are in deep shit because it's so difficult to kind of get out of this rough. So I went and took a look at the 2016 leaderboard. And guess what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the guys inside the top 10 were all inside the top 23 in driving accuracy. So there's going to be people that are mentioning bombers are going to be paramount this week. Yes, as you can see, there's DJ, things like that. But if you take a look at this list, we got Daniel Summerhays. I don't know if it's Daniel or not. Zach Johnson, Jason Duffner, Kevin Na, Shane Lowry, Scott Piercy, Jim Furyk, and DJ hit 64% of his fairways at Oakmont. So in order to kind of succeed around this golf course, you are going to need to be in the fairway. And then from that fairway, you need to be good with your long irons. And if you're good with your long irons from the fairway, I want a good putter because you're probably going to be hitting a lot of these big greens. If you are a long distance guy who is good out of the rough from 150 and out, you're going to need to be good around the greens, because you are not going to be hitting these greens from the rough. It is thick shit. It's thicker than a South Baltimore frat party. You know, like I don't know how to describe this rough more than that, but it's going to be difficult to advance your golf ball. So you're going to need short game around the greens for the guys that don't have the accuracy, because it's just going to be so much easier to control your golf ball from the fairway. I'd almost want a 5-iron from the fairway than a 9-iron from the rough, because you just know where your ball is going to be going. It's such a lottery in this rough. And I want to shout out Bryson for being a complete clickbait bitch. He was dropping golf balls in his YouTube video on the side of the walks to the fairway, saying, if you miss the fairways, this is what you're going to be dealing with. No, Bryson, unless you're topping your driver 50 yards in front of you, that's what you'll be dealing with. But these all professionals, you clickbait bastard. But anyway, that triggered me hard. So glad I got that off my chest.
I don't get your hate for that. I mean, like, you know, you sort of want
it's non-consequential.
I know
nobody's going to be hitting from where you dropped that golf ball.
I can't hate on it because, like, I made like $80 last month on X. Right? Like, it was like my best month ever. I was like, oh, $80? What the fuck? Let me go ahead and start doing some more shit where people are gonna have to click my shit. I get it. I was like, hey, that pays for a dinner. Or half a dinner for me, maybe, or one night, you know? So I didn't hate that.
It drives me fucking bonkers when people do that kind of stuff because I'm like an authentic guy. Anyway, back to what I'm expecting this week. Here's my screen again. Here are the best major finishes in majors for a golfer prior to that major. As you can see, we have had pretty much second or first at the Masters. And since 2012, if you haven't finished first or second at the Open Championship, you're not going to win that tournament. But at the US Open, it is a bit more of a lottery. As you can see here, the average finishing positions is basically ninth compared to the others being third and sixth and fifth. You know, even the PGA, you need some pedigree. But we've got the last couple, Wyndham Clark, his best finish was 75th. Couple guys before that, all sitting inside the top six, not better than third though. So I'm okay I've always preached, if you don't finish first or second in a major, I'm not going to be betting you in a major. But this week, I'm okay. Top five, that's good to go. We're going to be rocking and rolling. In the Model Maniac Patreon, I have all of that stuff here for you guys. You can go ahead and find all of the different rates that I have for these dudes. I've got finished power rankings. I got major championship strokes gained. I've got it all for you. Use code FGD50 for 50% off your first month. That's going to be like $15 for you, and you'll get some of my open prep as well. So I'd appreciate if you guys did that. I think it's an important week to just hit the ball straight, have good long iron play, and then you got to just kind of try and figure your stuff out with the short game, Kenny.
All right.
Play ProphetX. Next. We are going to be waiting on the placement markets because they will be having placements for the US Open. And typically, their placement markets are the best. We had Xander Schauffele top 20 last PGA Championship. Unfortunately, it just missed out by one shot, but we lost significantly less than had we bet it somewhere else. You know, the plays at Play ProphetX, the minus 150 market for Xander in the top 20 market there, I saw minus 180s, minus 190s at other books as the best numbers. So you're going to find, now that not everything is going to be the best number, but there are going to be a lot of numbers that are better than you can find anywhere else. So use code FG Degenerates for 1.5% back on every single one of your plays in the first 30 days. Kenny, what were you kind of eyeing out for the placement market?
So for ProphetX, I think what I'm going to focus on the big dogs. I'm going to focus on Scotty. I'm going to focus on Bryson. I'm going to focus on Raw. Those are the three guys. I'm probably going to go top 10 on all of them. You're looking at probably minus 350 on most books for Scotty for a top 10. I'm going to try and get minus 300 or below. I think you'll probably get, for Bryson, you'll probably get like minus 250, 280. I'm going to try and get as close to minus 200 for a top 10 as possible. And then Rahm will probably be around the 200, minus 200 area. I'll probably, 150, minus 150 to minus 100. That's what I'm going to key on. The reason I key on the studs is because those are the guys who most likely, like I said, the placement stuff isn't my big thing. So I focus on the studs, the guys most likely to get that top 10 number. And then my thing about ProphetX is beating the books and getting the value that you need. 50 points, 40 points better than the books. That's where I'm getting my value, and that's how I'm basing my ProphetX plays on for this week. So I'll be focusing on Rahm, top 10, Bryson, top 10, Scheffler, top 10. Is the three guys that I'll be looking at once the placement markets go off. Again, I would try and get those numbers in as early as possible once the placements are there. If they don't usually hit by Wednesday, then you adjust your numbers closer to what the market value is. But it is a major. You're going to see more people on the site than normal that aren't used to it, that don't play it as much. And these are the times you take advantage. You put some crazy numbers out there. Say Scotty's minus 350 for a top 10. Go ahead and put minus 250 on there. See what the fuck happens. I think it's been tightening up each week as people get an idea. It's been harder to get really crazy numbers, great numbers, but not insane numbers like we did a month ago, 2 months ago. But this being a major, more people, more eyeballs, more people on the site. And I think you can get some crazy numbers this week.
Yeah. And I'm going to share my screen one more time with you guys because this is my Model Maniac Patreon tool that you can use. And if Kenny was looking for the last 5 years at the US Open, Masters, and PGA Championships, I'm going to leave the Open Championship out of there. It's not necessarily the greatest course fit for an Open Championship. If Kenny wants to find out, okay, who's the best top 10 bet over this period of time, betting to win $100, you can click on Scottie Scheffler's name over here, and then you can see what his odds have been historically in these different majors. So you can kind of use this tool to make your bets on make your plays on ProphetX over there, because you can see what these odds have been in the past. So you can say, okay, anything in the minus 180 range for a Scottie Scheffler top 10 is perfect, So he's typically minus 220, 225. US Open last year was minus 303. That's
I think
what
we'll
it
see
closed
something
at.
close
So,
to. I think we'll see something close to that number this year.
yeah,
The minus
it's
303.
absurd. So I think Scotty, that's his top 10 market there. If you're looking for Bryson, who's been a really profitable top 10 bet, he's typically been plus money in the past. But I'm looking at his situation now, and he's minus 125. So on ProphetX, you could potentially still put out there an even money Bryson top 20 or top 10, sorry, and kind of, go out there and get great value for that. So you can use this tool to kind of.
I guess I was overvaluing their numbers. That's a great tool that you have on your site. That's pretty fucking money.
Yeah, it's pretty damn cool. So you can see how that all works out, and then you can determine which markets to go to, because some guys are just better in the top 20 markets. Some guys are better in the top 10s. They just find their happy medium. Keith Mitchell just hangs between that top 10, top 20, usually, kind of thing, just for an example there. But yeah, I think that's definitely a way to kind of go about it. And, I think you spot on, Kenny. You go aggressive with the number, because on ProphetX, you set the number. You are not going, there are numbers out there that you can also accept, but you are also placing the odds out there that you want other people to match, because it's a peer-to-peer situation and someone will take the other side of this play. So if you want to fade someone, nobody else, no other books allow you to say this person's not going to finish top 10. Because if Bryson's odds are plus 100, you're going to have to say Bryson's to finish not top 10 is also going to be plus 100. So you can fade guys a lot easier, because the only other way to fade a golfer is in a matchup, and then you got to go up against that other dude, right? So this is the perfect situation to kind of fade people as well, because that's an area that is unexploited in the golf betting world, and you can do that at ProphetX. So I'm very excited. I've been harping on to them. We're going to get placements every week, but we're at least going to enjoy it this week for the US Open. It's going to be a fun time. So yeah, baby. All right. Kenny, shall we get into some bets?
Yeah.
Bye.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about
Kickback Golf.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead and go first. This is also presented to you by Kickback Golf. Use code FGD15 for all your Kickback Golf merchandise needs. We've got some sick baseball and basketball jerseys for all your favorite golfers out there. It's on the screen right now. Mike's showing you some sick paraphernalia and merchandise that you can get from Kickback Golf, because that's where we're going over here. And Kickback Golf is really, really good. I've got their Scottie Scheffler Masters 2022 jersey. I've got John Daly's Razorbacks 69 basketball jersey. So depending on what setting you want to be in, you can rock different kind of outfits there and have a great time doing all of that. So Kenny, as you're leaving the seat,
the back of mine.
Ooh,
I don't know if you could see the back of my shirt.
All right, back shots. Kenny back shots. Let's go.
So that is Lindeque's caddy bowing to Augusta National with the fake Augusta logo that they'll, hopefully the Masters never see, so they don't get into litigation with the Kickback Golf logo. So make sure you go to kickbackgolf.com. Let me adjust my camera here so it's not fuzzy. And let's go ahead and talk about...
Man, Kenny's really going hard at the paint here to try and give you guys the greatest view of what you can find at Kickback Golf. But until Kenny shows back up on the screen, I'm just going to keep rocking and rolling, or maybe we just cut the video, Mike, and wait for Kenny to get back. Okay, Kenny's coming back. We're good.
We're good.
I'm going to rock and roll first with my bets for this week. I'm going to be mentioning a Russell Henley 60-61. I popped that in the Discord already. There's 50s out there. There were 80s on Sunday. Russell Henley, he does exactly what you're looking for at majors. If he he's one of the most accurate golfers in this field. Not the longest hitter, but when I was looking at those yardages for Oakmont, everything, excuse me, dry mouth in the early morning of the day, yeah, but Russell Henley is going to be hitting his drives short of all the shit. Everything bad around the fairways happens at 290 up until like 320, 330. So unless you have a 330 drive carry through the air, you're going to be hitting your golf ball, landing it in areas that are like disastrous. There's trenches, there's ditches, there's pew bunkers, there's piano key bunkers, there's 5-inch rough you can lose your baby in. Russell Henley is likely going to be short of all that stuff in the fairway, going hammer and nails from that range. He's great in the short game department. He's got multiple top fives in majors, and he just won the Arnold Palmer Invitational this year, which is a very similar kind of a golf course. Thick ash rough, difficult golf course that you need to have good short game around the greens if you don't have that distance to give yourself short irons into the greens. So Russell Henley's a perfect situation over there. You can find him at various numbers out there. 65-1 is what's available at the moment. Then I'm also going to be rocking and rolling with Sepp Straka, who's basically the exact same option. 50-1, 5 places each way. We're rocking and rolling over there. I think Sepp is exceptional when it comes to driving accuracy, and he's one of the best iron players in the field. So you're going to be getting exceptional iron play. He's ultra accurate off the tee. Not the longest guy in the world, but he's going to be in the fairway like we're looking for. And his short game around the green's not the greatest, but like I mentioned, he's going to be hitting from the short grass all the time. So he's likely going to be hitting more greens in regulation than the rest of these dudes. So he's going to lead on the putter, which is very, very impressive. He's a very, very good putter, and he just won at Philadelphia Cricket Club up in the Northeast in Pennsylvania. So it's a great venue for him. I think Sepp Straka is going to be looking to do some serious damage in that department. And I will also be mentioning Justin Rose. Justin Rose is sitting at 125-1 out there, depending where you're shopping around. He is the best putter in majors over the last 5 years, over the last 8 years, depending what you want to look at. He's also going to be a first-round leader for me as well. All three of these guys are great first-round leader candidates, by the way. So I'll be having Jim Cummings, by the way, on Back Nine Bets on Tuesday nights at 7 Eastern. The first-round king will be joining the show with his debut of the first-round leader place for him. He'll be on there for a little bit, kind of breaking it down. He was on the show when I hit Cristobal Dalso last, so he's like my lucky charm. So I think that's going to be a fun time to have him on there. I think it's the first podcast he might ever be on. It's going to be on Mayo Media Network.
I like Jim.
7 Eastern. Jim's great.
I like Jim. He's a good guy.
Great follow. Yeah, go follow Jim Cummings on X. He's a fantastic first-round leader candidate, and just hit Ryan Fox with you, Kenny. So he's just a great bet overall. I will be looking for Justin Rose in the first-round leader market, and he's accurate off the tee. He's not the longest guy in the world, but he keeps himself in the fairways. He gets it done in majors. He is looking for major wins and gold medals and Ryder Cup victories. That's basically all he's looking to do. So he's playing a lot better than he was entering the PGA Championship. He's also basically free at triple digits. So those are my three guys. I'm going to be looking to bet these other names live. Once Scotty Scheffler decides what he's going to be doing, I am interested in betting John Rahm at 12-1. We'll see. Kenny might or might not have John Rahm on his card.
All right,
Go ahead,
so
Kenny,
you're up. I got 5 people on my card. I am not doing the without Scotty. I'm not doing any without markets. Because the thing about the U.S. Open is the variables in the U.S. Open are more than any other tournament. Yes, I'm scared of Scotty. Yes, I'm scared of Bryson. Do I think they can win? Yes, very, very easily. But when it comes down to it, the variables, the stuff you don't see in a normal tournament, there are more of those at the U.S. Open than anything else. Hitting it into just one wrong spot, those drainage ditches, they could screw everything up. Scotty pulls one just a little bit into one of those, you can get a triple. You know what I'm saying? Even Scotty can do this.
And he can 3 and 4 putt his way out of this course too. These greens are diabolical.
He's been putting so well. Then that's the issue. So I'm definitely worried, but I'm not going to do the without market this week. I'm doing it with these guys, and I'm starting off with John Rahm 12-1 win over. No each ways for him, just so I don't, go too much over my weekly allowance. But Rahm, he got back into contention at majors, at the PGA. He got that feeling again. You know what I'm saying? The big thing I noticed at the PGA Championship was that Rahm held back like Hulk Rahm. He held Hulk Rahm at bay after unleashing him at the Masters. Like when it comes to John, I think people think of him sometimes as this big dumb brute, almost like a DJ. But I feel like he's more cerebral. Like he's definitely smarter, and he uses history and how he's played in the past. I think he looks back on that a lot. He even mentioned that recently, how he's watched himself at the Masters, and he saw that he was a little angry and overdoing it. And you saw him at the PGA Championship adjust a lot calmer, smiling after missed putts, and I think it's a really big part of his game. Mentally, he has to be on point. He can't be angry, Hulk Raw. And I think he knows that. And so the thing that took him down on the PGA was Sunday nerves, and he's had some of those issues. Now I'm hoping that he will adjust just like he did for the Masters to the PGA. He learns from his mistakes and adjusts, and hopefully he can get that Sunday back on track. Of course, he has a solid U.S. Open pedigree. Being a former Masters champion should have him prepped for these speedy greens like Cabrera and DJ, who won the last two Opens at this course, and they won the Masters as well, just like Rahm. Next, it's going to be Oberg, 25-1 with 8 places. We're trying to get on the Oberg train before everyone jumps back on board. Was 14-1 for most events, even majors. But now we're seeing him at 25-1 or better, maybe 30-1 this week. He seems to have found something in the last couple of weeks with back-to-back top finishes, gained in all strokes gained categories at the Memorial except putting, gained in all categories but around the green last week. Iron game looks to be improving, still hitting it long and straight off the tee. So, we all know Oberg can win a major. And so I'm going to go jump on him at these higher numbers that we've seen from him in the past. Next, it's going to be Neiman, 28-1 with 8 places. He won again last week in Virginia. That's 4 live wins and 6 worldwide wins total the last year or so. First top 10 in a major. He got that top 10 off. First top 10 in a major monkey off his back at the PGA a month ago. I think he's finally ready to really compete at a major. The talent is there. Like, I don't give a fuck if you hate Liv or you discredit Liv. The guy's doing his thing. Again, his long iron play, exceptional. Elite iron game. You worry about his accuracy off the tee, but hopefully he clubs down, like you said, because he is one of the longer hitters out there on tour or on either tour. So maybe he plays it smart, 3-wood. And stuff like that. He plays those long irons, which is a strength of his. He's another guy that I think should win a major at some point in his career, though. Talent-wise, he's probably a little bit below Oberg, I think, just from what we expect in the future. But he's still up there. It's pretty freaking close, right? And so I like him. I also like your Sepp call. Sepp, 35-1, 8 places. Again, I use Bet365. I don't get the best numbers because I'm playing the each ways, so I'm sort of committed to this book. You could probably shop around. Like you said, you got a 50-1 for him. Yeah. His combination of accuracy off the tee, elite iron game, and putting, and lack of big numbers. I think he's top 15 in this field in bogey of wins and double bogey of wins. Been a big game hunter for the last year. Here's his finishes in the last, I think, 12 or 13 signature events. 3rd, 1st, 13th, 14th, 5th, miscut at the Genesis, 7th, 15th, 23rd, 5th, 8th, 5th. I mean, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, almost more than half of those 12 events or so. 7 of the 12, he's finished inside the top 10, right? These are all against the big boys. These are all on tougher courses. The next step in his evolution, he's a top 10 player in the world now, right? The next step in his evolution as a pro golfer is contending in majors, right? And I think he starts with this one. Byron made some good points about his accuracy, his elite iron game. I like him. 35 to 1. My last one is going to be Harris English, 66 to 1 with 8 places. Been very good recently. 4 top 12s in his last 6 events, including a 12th at Augusta, a 2nd at the PGA. Always been good at tough courses. One key to his game, the lack of big numbers. Again, another guy, top 12 in bogey of wins and double bogey of wins in the last 50 or so rounds. And this is at difficult courses throughout his career. So I really like Harris English, 66 to 1. So I'm also, of course, still betting Koepka, 50 to 1. I don't want to, right? But I'm forced to bet him just because, if you guys don't know, I said I was going to bet Koepka, put $50 on Koepka for every single tournament after his last major. That was at the PGA Championship. So since the U.S. Open in 2023, I've bet him $50 every event, thinking that in the next 5 years, he hits one, you're going to be up, right? And at that point in time, I expected him to easily hit one major in his next 20. Now, I'm not so sure, right?
Have you bet it, Kenny? Because I saw his Brooks Koepka tracker, said that he was hobbling around the greens, wincing in pain. He's potentially injured.
Okay. I got him at 66 to 1 with a win only 50. I put $50 on it. I just put 50. I'm just going to do it. Yeah. And beware the injured golfer. Watch, he'll go out and do his thing now. While he'll come in like second, I didn't take the placement points, and I'll want to punch somebody in the face. But my card for this week is going to be Jon Rahm, 12 to 1, win only. Oberg, 25 to 1 with 8 places. Neiman, 28 to 1 with 8 places. Giuseppe Straka, 35 to 1, 8 places. English, 66 to 1, 8 places.
Beautiful. I'm just going to join you in on the Jon Rahm 12 to 1, Kenny. I'm in on him. I want to do it. I think it's the way to go. Fuck it. Why are we trying to get cute? Maybe he gets off to a good start and that 12 to 1 is gone and Scotty, kind of messes up. So I'm in on Jon Rahm, officially 12 to 1. I was in the mood. I like a lot of what you said there. And he's one of the few guys, like when he was in the groove there at the PGA Championship, he was driving it long and straight. Like Jon Rahm of old. I had an issue with Rahm's iron play entering the week. Remember I mentioned to you how bad his iron play has been on live. Iron play looked fantastic around Quail Hollow. So, and Rahm is one of the few guys that's really, his iron play has been so bad that he's had to chip and putt his way to these top 10s on the live tour. So his short game is exceptional. I think he's one of the most well-rounded options on the slate. So, and we're getting, a really decent discount outside of the top 3 guys there. So I like that number a lot for Jon Rahm. All right, let's get into some blood, sweat, and DFS tiers for this week's U.S. Open at Oakmont Country Club. Kenny, we got a 14,400 Scotty Scheffler. There is a 5K range available. I plugged Scheffler in to a lineup, and I think you have 7,120 left for your 5 guys. I plugged Bryson and Rahm into a lineup together, and you have $7,200 left for 4 guys after that. So playing those 2 dudes leaves you with 1 less spot to fill and slightly more money to fill each one of those spots. And you've got 2 beasts at the top versus Scotty and 5 jabronis down in the middle. But now the middle of the 7K range, the 8K range is very soft pricing. So I think you can easily shove some really big names in there. So Scotty Scheffler will be played this week. I think, we're going to expect that. But I think the most owned option is going to be Bryson at $11,000. Rory is probably going to give people nightmares this week, given how he's played, the fact he doesn't have a drive in his hand that he's comfortable with, and he's $1,400 more expensive than Bryson, right? So those optimizers are really going to like Bryson this week. All of that to be said, where are you going with at the top here, Kenny?
So I'm going to go ahead and start with my hustler play of the week. Mike hit the music. I'm going to go with hustler play of the week. What I've been doing at majors is focusing on a low-owned 10K and up guy. Guys in the 10K range are always the elite guys. I want to get the lowest owned. Looking at this, I think the 2 lowest in the 10K are going to be Rory and Xander. I do think Rory's still going to pick up a little bit of steam because it's Rory outside of the last couple of events. I'm still thinking he'll still see 15. 16% Rory. I'm thinking you'll see, 30 plus Scotty, 30 plus Bryson. I think you'll see 20 to 30 plus, 20 to 30% Raw. So my hustler play of the week is going to be Xander Schauffele at 10,400. I expect him to be under 15% owned. Would be my guess. He would be one of the lowest owned guys in this top 10 with Rory. Again, his iron game recently has been improving a lot. I think, I think that one, it's been a lot better. He's top 5 in the field in the last 24 rounds. His long iron game is well above average. He hits it a mile. And he's a 2-time major winner. So at 12 to 15% owned, lowest owned guy in the 10K range, I'm going to use him. Now I'm playing 5 lineups this week. I'm going to play Scotty in 2, probably 2 of the $55 GPPs. I'm going to play Bryson in 1. I'm going to play Xander in 1. And then my first cash game cornerstone is going to be John Long. And so he's at 10,200. The price is good. You don't have to delve down into the cheap 5Ks. It makes it easy to have a lineup that you really, really like with the upside needed, because you're going to have some miscuts in there, right? I think, 4 of 6 with the winner, I think we'll still get it done. And I want John in there for me.
In
So
cash,
I do like
obviously.
in
Yeah.
cash. I do like I want John in cash. Now, so who do you like in this ring?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of John Rahm. I think he's going to do wonderful things. I think Bryson's definitely interesting. Going to have to keep an eye on that ownership, because this course, Kenny, like you mentioned, it's a US Open. Anything can happen. So if Bryson comes in a third owned by the field, I'm quite content potentially just taking a gamble on just having 2/3 of the field to play against if Bryson misses the cut. That would be an easy way to kind of get some leverage on the field. Then you can play wherever the hell you want down below. If you just, fading one of the biggest
guys. I think another good strategy this week, I think, is, finding the guys that you like and maybe spreading the wealth in the top, right? Having a few Scotty, having a few Bryson, having a few Xander, having a few Rahm, and then tightening the core in the 7K range. Like, double up on guys in the 7 and 8K range that you'll use multiple times in those lineups with those top guys, and try and find the right connection that way, where, you take a grip and lock down on these 7 and 8K guys that you like, put them in a bunch of your lineups, and then spread the wealth up top and try and hit the correct match that way. I think that's one way to go about this week, and that's the way I'm going to go about it this week when it comes to DFS.
I love it. I think that's fantastic, Kenny, because if you can really core around those in the 7K, they're going to be lower owned as well, naturally, just because of the price. And if you can find a guy that is even lower owned than those around him in the 7K range, then you are looking real good. That's the way to get different, because the top of the board, it's going to be tough to find ownership leverage. Everyone's going to be quite popular apart from your hustler play of the week and potentially Rory. I think Xander and Rory are going to be contending, but I think Xander's at least trending up where Rory's kind of trending down. I think I will not be playing Rory this week whatsoever. So like you mentioned, they're probably playing Rahm, Bryson, and Scotty this week is going to be my range. Xander out of the rough from 150 and out is a bit of a concern to me this year. He's been below average from 150 and out of the rough. I don't know if that's got to do with his rib or what.
I don't think that has much to do this week, because everyone's going to struggle out of the rough. You're just going to have to punch it out.
Yeah.
So
true,
I'm hoping he's long enough off the tee where he clubs down and hits more fairways.
Bang. Let's go. And he drove it fantastically at Quail. So there's definitely going to be that to deal with. In the 9K range here, we've got Colin Morikawa, Ludwig, Patrick Cantley, Justin Thomas. Very small range, I believe. Who are you kind of in the mood for in the 9Ks, Kenny?
Again, taking a little risk here in cash. My second cash game cornerstone is going to be Oakland. I'm going to use Oberg. I'm hoping that he gets that upside going. Talked about him in the betting segment, so I don't need to go over that too much. But I'm hoping that he has that upside needed. The guy's been a force at majors already. He didn't even play very well and still finished 12th at the PGA Championship, 7th at Augusta, something like that. So he's got to be my second cash game cornerstone. If you're looking for a little bit, maybe, I don't know, more safety, I don't know. I don't think the upside is good. But I think if you're not a fan of Oberg in cash, I think you could shift to Cantlay in cash with the good finishes here recently, playing with good form. And I'll be looking at Cat. I don't know if I'm going to play much in GPPs. There's only 4 guys in this range.
Yeah. And, if you're finding total drivers of the golf ball, which means that you're gaining above average accuracy off the tee and distance, Patrick Cantlay's one of those guys. He's gaining 12 yards on the field, compared to the driving average there. And he's gaining 1% more fairways than the field this week. So he's a good total driver of the golf ball. And I think you mentioned in your preview, off the tee isn't the most difficult part of this course, but I think it's the most essential. If you are Justin Thomas at $9,000, I'm not playing you, sir. Your driving accuracy is one of the worst in the field, and you don't necessarily have elite length, and it's even worse in majors. So he's just going to be. It's going to be. I'm gonna like play him to miss the cut.
I think JT's a guy that nowadays it seems like where it's a shorter course, probably best for him. Probably
Easy,
something
like you mentioned.
Yeah. I think like birdie fests. I think there's stuff where you sort of go with JT nowadays. I'm not on it.
Yeah, and on my tool you can see like hard and hellish conditions. Anything that a course averages over par or less than half a shot under par, Justin Thomas is putrid in those conditions. So I'm completely out on him. I am out on Ludwig. I just don't know if his game is, it's there, but it's not there. Like I think you need to be in full control of your shit going into this week. His upside is obviously insane, but it's a little scary to me. What do you think of Colin?
2 weeks to prove it. Last 2 weeks, I can't get on Colin. He just, the way, I don't know. He's won a US Open before, right? Again, it was no crowd, or was it a PGA? Was it PGA? Did he win the US?
I think it's a PGA. Was it
the PGA in the Open Championship
at Harding Park? Yeah.
It was. So he hasn't. What I hear about PGA about Colin is he's very, very hard headed. Now he's on his 3rd caddy in his last this year, right? The thing about what I've heard about Colin is that, and these are people from the inside. They say that he's extremely hard headed. He doesn't listen. He wants to play the way he wants to play, and a lot of the times it's not correct. I remember at the PGA when he had the new caddy. A lot of the times, I remember one hole. The caddy, during the caddy conversation, he was like, "You got to aim, 15 yards short left," and Colin's having none of it. He's like, "I'm going at the pin." Hits it right at the pin, amazing shot, and it rolled 20 feet by downhill into a ravine. If you listen to his caddy, he would have hit the perfect shot. And he tends to just go on his own a lot, and it's been working. I mean, he's been fine, but I don't know. He needs to get better when it comes to being too aggressive. And the thing is, it's not like he's being aggressive with like wedges and like short irons, right? Like he's not that long off the tee. Like I can understand it if he hit it 320 and he wanted to be aggressive with a short club in his hand, but he's a shorter golfer off the tee. So he's being aggressive with like mid to long irons on his hand when he does have the skill to do that, because he's one of the better iron players that we've seen in the last 5 years. But at courses like this, I just don't think he could do it the way he wants to. And if he's not going to listen to his caddy, if he's not going to play a little bit more conservative, I'm not going to be on.
I think I am. I agree. I totally agree with what you're saying. But from a like metrics perspective, I filtered on strokes gained, driving accuracy, strokes gained distance, strokes gained approach from 200 plus, putting, and around the green. And Colin checks all of those boxes. So he's absolutely someone that I think is going to be in my player pool. He's a perfect fit. Shane Lowry entered the final round with 5-shot lead, the last time they played you. And I think Colin is an identical like prototype of Shane. He's built the exact same way. He's going to be hitting from the fairway so often. I think it's just going to make his life so much easier. And if he can just figure out his mentals up there, he's going to be in great shape. So I'll be in on him in a big way. I think, sadly, great price. And if the ownership is low, I like it a lot. If high ownership, I'll probably leave him alone.
It could be a good leverage play because I don't expect them to be high. I'm thinking 12%. Maybe for
I'm in there for sure.
Yeah, let's move on to the 8K range. My third cash game cornerstone is going to be Joaquin Niemann. Again, I talked about him during the betting segment. I think it's his time. He's going to contend in the major. He's going to win one by the time next year's over. I think for Niemann. So I'm going to go ahead and use him as my third cash game cornerstone. I really like the boys at the bottom. I like I guess they're not even in the 8K range. Shit, the 8K range is small. The other guy I'm going to play in the 8K range is going to be Hovland. I'm going to look at Hovland. I don't know if I'm definitely going to play him, but I am going to look at him. His iron game, really good. His long iron game, one of the best. You do worry about his short game. Again, that's why I didn't bet him. But a top 10 from Hovland, I can definitely, from a top 10, as long as he doesn't miss short, but I like him. Again, another guy who's going to win a major at some point in time. I will play Hovland.
I agree. I'll be playing with you too. I think, he also is one of the guys that checks all those boxes that I mentioned, along with Colin and Scotty. So he's someone that makes tons of sense at $8,500. Got a top 2 in a major. Niemann doesn't have that top 5 yet, Kenny, but this we've seen the volatility of a US Open. This could be the one he wins, if his short game can show up. He's typically struggled in the short game department. He's the first person to be neutral on the slate when it comes to short game. He doesn't gain or lose. He's lost 0.1 around the greens and he's gained 0.1 putting. He just can't seem to pair up his short game with his long play. And, that was an incredible final round at the PGA Championship. But, is that going to be sustainable for 4 rounds over here? So I'm in on him for sure. I like Tommy Fleetwood a lot at $8,800 as well. I think he's definitely a live look. If you find a Tommy Fleetwood way down the leaderboard going into a Sunday and he gets to go out early, he could post a number, man. The only way Tommy Fleetwood is going to win an Open, a US Open, is if he tees off in the morning. That's just the only way he's going to do it. He's not going to do it when he's in the mix. But at $8,800, I think his accuracy off the tee is going to be really, really beneficial this week. There's your 7K range, Kenny. It's loaded. It's got great names in it. It's where all the value is going to be found. It's going to be where I think the slate's made or broken. I think these lineups that are heavy at the top are going to be filtered around these names. Where are you going in the 7s?
The 2 guys up top, one of those, either Sepp or Lowry, one of them is definitely going to be in my cash lineup. They're not part of my cash game cornerstones, but one of them is going to be in my cash lineup. I have Sepp there now. I talked about him, but I have $100 left. So I could move up to Lowry, who, again, like you said, was in contention last time it was here. Iron game, very, very strong. You said you're not liking him.
I love his course fit, but Shane is just like,
I don't think he's going to win.
Pathetic. He's just pathetic.
I don't
but
think
even like 44th at the Masters, missed the cut at the PGA Championship. He's had multiple meltdowns on Sundays now. It's just like, if he's popular, I'm not going to play him. I like him a lot, but I think, if he's popular, I'm out. I prefer Sepp. I prefer Sepp over him in a big way, in a big way.
Okay, I like both of them. They're both very, very close to me. When it comes to looking at Lowry, he does perform very, very well on difficult courses. In my model, when you put the difficult course tab on, he's second in my model. Again, the long iron play has been very good. He's been very good at long par 4s at difficult courses, and that's where people are going to get an edge because those are going to be the hardest holes on the course. So I might go with Lowry then if you're going to go with Sepp, just because it just makes it more fun. But I do like Sepp a lot this week. I did bet him, so that's something to be seen. Other guys I do like in this range, Corey Connors. at 7,300. Again, the iron play, the accuracy off the tee. He does well on difficult courses. I like him. I'm going to go ride the wave with Sam Burns. With 5 really good finishes in his last 6 starts. The numbers are going to tell you don't play him. But the numbers said don't play him last week. And he came in second. And so I'm not really looking at the numbers. I'm looking at what I've seen him do. The guy could putt his ass off. He should have won last week. The form is there, $7,100. He's in my cash lineup as well. I do like Ben Griffin at 7,200. Again, riding the form once again with the iron play. Really good on long par 4s. Sneaky long, Mr. Griffin. Sneaky long. Getting those.
Not even sneaky anymore. He's just out there creatining it way through the Memorial.
Old boy is a little bit long off the tee now. And he's still, where is he? Fairways gained, not the greatest. But he's long enough, and his iron game is strong at that price with his form. I'm going to go take a look at him.
Absolutely. Kenny, you want Russell Henley or Justin Rose versus Sam Burns? This is how I lost money. This is how I should be eating a butter. Maybe in the live Ryder Cup show, I'll smash some butterfish before the show as well, since I'm in my own house and all of that jazz. But do you want Sam Burns to be our matchup of the week at Play ProphetX, or do you want to figure out a different name?
Sure, Sam Burns is fine.
You want Russell Henley or Justin Rose?
Let's go against Rose.
Yeah, I'm in. All right. Let's go, Rosie. Burns in the majors he's only got 1 top 10 in the last, 21,
and that was the last
majors.
US Open. That was the US Open last year.
But Pinehurst is a bit different than this one. I think we'll see. I don't know. We'll see. I'm ready to get hurt again. No doubt about it. So I'm a big fan of Jordan Spieth, Kenny, $7,500. I think short game, if you're just looking to get up and down, he can get up and down from about anywhere. He's a magician out of that thick rough. He's a magician, out of any situation around the greens. And he's got 3 top 5s in his last 18 major starts. That's fantastic pedigree for Spieth, $7,500. And, he's not the greatest when it comes. Yeah.
One thing about Spieth that is sort of shocking, he's second in the field in the last 24 rounds in double bogey avoidance. Right, you're thinking about Jordan and the big numbers and how that usually comes to fruition with him. He'll make like 6 birdies and have a triple and a double, or something like that. He's been avoiding those big numbers here recently. In the last 24 rounds, he's second in the field in double bogey avoidance,
which is very much what you need here. I think I saw Nick Doherty back in 2007 or something. Had 16 bogeys and 3 doubles and finished 7th. You're going to have to making bogeys is not a bad thing, because there's going to be holes that are playing pretty close to 1 over par, depending on which holes they are. So it's going to be a fun week. I think Spieth can, fend off the teeth of a golf course like this. We just got to figure out the putter. And on diabolical greens like this, maybe everyone's going to be missing 6-footers. Because they super slopey and tricky to kind of get going there. So I'm in on him. I'm also Tony Finau at $7,300 is a great course fit.
Yeah.
Do I like his current situation? No. But
there's been
if you're looking
like from the eyeball test, just watching him play, it might not lead into the stats, but I feel like he's played better the last couple of times he's come out.
Yeah. He's putting with one hand with a putter that is bent like a hockey stick. At the Memorial, Happy Gilmore Finau might be what you need in your lineups at $7,300. And then Matt Fitzpatrick. He checks all those boxes. Short game, chipping putting, distance and accuracy off the tee, old Fitzy. He gets it done in both those areas. So I'm in on him. I think the long iron play is fantastic for Fitz, especially from 200 plus. He's a very, very good long iron player. I'm liking him a lot. He might be the guy I play the most in the $7,000 range. Good morning to you, Kenny Kim, at 11 o'clock here on Central Time. In the 6s, where are we going over there? I'll obviously be playing Justin Rose, Siwoo Kim, Daniel Berger, JJ Spahn at the top.
Cash game cornerstone, final, Harris English, 6,700. Again, we talked about him there in the betting segment. I think it was like 3 or 4 top 15s in his last 5 events. Always plays tough course as well. Has performed well in majors. I think a second at Augusta, 12th at the PGA Championship. So everything just leads to it, and still leaves close to 15,000 to fill out the rest of your lineups. I have it filled with Burns and Sepp. It might be Burns and Lowry by the time we get down to it. We'll see what I do for that. So my cash game cornerstones for this week are going to be John Rahm at $10,200, Oberg at $9,600, Neiman at $8,600, and English at $6,700. I fill it out with Burns and either Lowry or Sepp Straka. Other guys I do like in this 6K range. I like Siwoo a lot. Siwoo is my runner-up for my hustler play of the week. Iron game well above average, avoids bogeys, good with his long irons, hits a lot of fairways. Do like Siwoo. Bobby Mack in difficult courses. I can get behind Bobby Mack at 6,700. Again, doesn't get the big numbers that often. Akshay Bhatti at 67 showed a little something at the PGA Championship. Again, the talent is there. Top 20th in approach in the last 24 rounds, and he's been putting very well. He's been pretty good at long par fours here recently. So the guys, I like him. Going down, Harris English, of course. Taylor Pender seems priced really low at $6,500. That's somebody I can take a peek at whose iron game has been strong, whose strength is off the tee, who hits it a long ways, and is not horribly inaccurate off the tee. So I can go with a little Pendy down here. Nick Taylor at 6,300. Just the guy just pops, plays good golf. Doesn't mind playing against the big boys. He was on that leaderboard last week in Canada with all the pressure on him. He sort of revels in that pressure, right? Being the first Canadian to win that Canadian Open. There's probably no pressure, no bigger pressure than that. I think even when you compare the majors, right? Being the first Canadian to win that event in 60-something years, I mean, and do it in the style that he did. And he's come out and won a couple of events after that. I mean, the guy just goes out there and just pops randomly. And so at this price, I'll take a risk at 6,300. And his
he has missed
brethren,
9 cuts in 10 majors since 2021.
Yeah,
so you're getting that,
6,300.
but again, it's $6,300. I think you're right there.
Yeah,
So.
you're going to go ahead and take that risk. Matt Hughes is another Canadian that I would take at 6,200. Again, along the lines of playing difficult course as well. Bud Cauley at 6,100 will be the stat darling when it comes to models in this 6K range. Top 5 in approach in his last 24 rounds. 5th from 175 to 200. 12th in bogey avoidance. 38th in double bogey avoidance. I mean, this guy is going to be 24th in strokes gained off the tee. He's going to be the stat darling in the 6K range. Who do you love?
If you're looking for leverage off of Cauley, who I do like a lot, Ryan Gerard checks the same exact amount boxes as Scotty Scheffler, Colin Morikawa, Shane Lowry, Taylor Pendrith. He is accurate off the tee, above average distance, great with the long irons, great out the rough from 150 and out. And in his majors, which he's played now, how many rounds of majors? He's played 3 major starts, which is enough. He's gained 0.3 strokes putting and 3 strokes around the green. So he's actually got all the boxes I'm looking for at $6,100. So I'm in on Ryan Gerard. And I believe watching Mayo's show, he played quite nicely here when they had the US Amateur or something in match play or something. He made it to one of the final rounds. That's good to see. I'm in with you on Taylor Pendrith. JT Poston also checks those 6 boxes that Scotty Scheffler, Ryan Gerard, Taylor Pendrith, Colin Morikawa checks. I think he's, under the radar, kind of playing some solid golf. He was right in the mix, I think, at the PGA Championship as well. And he's hitting his irons really, really nicely right now too. So he's someone I'll be looking at. I'm in with Siwoo Kim. Daniel Berger. If you're looking for like a prototypical ball striker for this golf course, he is that dude. Can he just not like lose 7 strokes putting this week? That's the question. Like, what are you giving Daniel Berger at a 50-50 chance of gaining putting this week, Kenny?
I mean, we shall see. If I remember correctly, he's not great on POA, but this is not West Coast POA. It's a little bit different. I mean, I'm looking at him. I have him starred, so we'll see.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. So I'm in on all of those guys. Let's get into the 5K range. There's a couple names that I'm in the mood to kind of throw in here. Not really anything below $5,600 though. So it's going to be quite fun to dive through these ranges. Yeah. Where are you going, Kenny?
I have 3 dudes starred right now. First one's going to be Grillo at 5,700. It looks like the iron game is back. He's been playing a lot better. A couple of nice finishes. I think 3 top 25s in his last 4 events played. Supremely accurate off the tee. His short game's even been pretty good. Here, recently, he's been putting a little bit better. Also, I can get down with Grillo down here at 5,700. Matt McCarty at 5,700 also. Again, good showing last week. I'm just trying to ride a little bit of the form when it comes to him. Really good with his long irons. Again, top 40 or top 30. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, top 40 in 200 plus and 175 to 200 in the last 24 rounds. Doesn't make too many bogeys. Strong off the tee, top 35 in strokes gained off the tee, with a lot of that going with accuracy. So I like McCarty at 5,700, and then maybe Goddard at 5,400 if we're going down, but down below. He had a nice little run recently of strong finishes. Some at like different types of events, but 28th at the Charles Schwab, 15th in the CJ Cup, 18th in Houston, 16th in Puerto Rico. You know, it's 4 of his last 7 starts. So his iron game has been very, very strong. He's been very, very good off the tee also. So if you just look at his numbers, avoids bogeys, top 25 in bogey avoidance, long off the tee, 34th in proximity from 175 to 200 in his last 24 rounds. He's probably the lowest price guy I'll look at.
Yeah. I don't mind these guys, Kenny. I like Rio. If I said Chris Kirk to you, he's got
He tends to play well at difficult courses too.
Yeah, very accurate driver of the ball, good long iron player. I think he's definitely going to be in the mix for me. In his last 14 majors, he's got 2 top 20s, so that's good to see for a $5,900 golfer. Sam Stevens. Think about courses Sam Stevens has played well at. He's played well at Torrey Pines, and I think that's a venue that's very driver intensive. You got to be either long or straight. Sam is a bit of both. Good long iron player, kind of average in that department, has putted nicely in the 2 majors that he's played in the last little while. Laurie Cantor does a lot of the things I'm looking for correctly at $5,800. Mark Hubbard at $5,600 is also someone that's ultra accurate off the tee. Very, very good long iron player. Showed up a little bit at the US Open at Pinehurst, if you're kind of liking that kind of correlation. $5,300. I'm going to take the guy that took our soul with Orchida and go with Brian Campbell at $5,300. Ultra accurate off the tee. Very good from 200 plus if you actually think about what he gets up to. He's above average gaining strokes in that department, and his short game can be very salty at times. So I think he's definitely going to be someone I'll be playing at $5,300 if you're looking for a real cheap option down here. And that's going to be it, because there are some really bad names down here. A bunch of dudes that I had to type names in because they're not in my database, because they qualified through all of the longest days in golf. Who knows how they will play, and it's going to be a fun time. I'm so freaking excited for this tournament. Let's freaking go. All right, Kenny, one and dones this week. I'm going to be rocking Bryson. I think I've been waiting for him this week. I nailed Scotty at the Memorial. I'm going to be using Bryson this week, I think, going to do that, and then I'll use Rahm at the Open Championship. So
yeah, so
that's
for
where
one
I'm
and done, I'm 144th in the Mayo Cup. I'm using Bryson too, because I still have him, and I'm not going to use him for anything else. So I'll go ahead and use Bryson. In the Slider Cup, I think I'm going to use Lowry as my international pick. I don't know what I'm doing for my USA pick yet. So let's see. Still in third. Okay. I think I had Fox last week, and I might have moved up. I haven't checked the rankings yet for the Slider Cup.
Cool. Awesome stuff. All right, folks.
Oh, we got to do
it's the
YouTube comment winner. Yeah, we actually got a hit last week. So
Christopher, what is his name, Mike?
I'll have to find it.
Something Clark, right?
Well,
Marshall Clark.
Marshall Clark.
Yes.
Marshall Clark.
Yes, that
with
was
a bunch
it.
of numbers.
I'll throw it up on
you
the
know who
screen.
you are. Yeah, you know who you are, sir. Reach out to me. We'll get you in the Model Maniac Patreon / Discord over there. Use code FGD50 if you're in the mood to kind of get in there without commenting below in the comments who's going to win this week in the US Open. I think it's going to be a fun week. Most of you guys already do that. I see when the video goes up, there's comments before the video has even been watchable. So you guys are doing a great job. Hit those bell notifications so that every week when you see the video go up, you can be the first in here, because I'm not giving it to everybody. It's just the one person that gets there, the first name that gets mentioned that wins this week gets in the Model Maniac Patreon for a month. Lots of fun stuff there. We'll be doing lots of showdown. That's my jam in DFS there for sure. We'll be adding some live outrights as we go, some end of round leaders after each round's data comes through. Lots and lots of fun stuff. I'll have all the tools and cheat sheets and stuff that you've seen on the screen as well. Code FGD50. Get yourself 50% off over there. Use code FGD15 for kickback golf paraphernalia that Kenny just went Brokeback Mountain on us for there. So you can get all sorts of beautiful, beautiful shirts, jerseys, basketball, baseball, all of that stuff for your favorite golfers over there. ProphetX is the title sponsor of this show. Use code FG Degenerates for 1.5% back on your place for the first 30 days. We really appreciate all of you. We really appreciate all of our sponsors. Go ahead and sign up there, man. It's going to be the best with the placements this week. That's when ProphetX really shines. And we're going to, on my show on Tuesdays on Mayo Media, 7 Eastern, I'll be going over all those placements there that we'll be getting at ProphetX. So going to be a fun time. We'll have Keith Stewart and Spencer Aguiar on there with me, along with Jim Cummings for a little first round leader tidbit. So it's going to be a great time this week. It's the goddamn US Open. I'm thrilled. There's going to be lots going on. Kenny, get us the hell out of here.
So next week should be fun. We'll do the all the Toronto stories next week. There is a hope that Cam might be a guest on this show at some point soon. So keep an eye on that. I've talked to him about that, but Cam's a little different when it comes to that because this is his job, right? So he does all the sports media for his work. And so the first question he asked me when I told him and I asked him to be on the show is, how much are you going to pay me? And I was like, I will buy your drinks for a lot of this show. So hopefully he remembers that happened. So we'll talk to him. His girl said she will try and push him to come on the show. I don't know if it's going to happen next week, but it should happen at some point in time. But next week we will have the whole Toronto story for next week. Make sure you keep an eye on that. I'll have, make sure you follow me on X at KendoVT. I have my betting card, all my ProphetX stuff, any types of cool info that I see, I will be posting it on there. So make sure you go to that. So it should be a fun week. It's the US Open, the third major of the year. Always fun. We should see some carnage. I know everyone loves watching that. So let's win some motherfucking money. DGen Nation.